Madison Hartwell stood in the crowded hallway of East Shore Academy, clutching her biology textbook like a shield. The spring afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows, illuminating dust particles that danced in the air, and highlighting every designer label on every student who passed by. "Did you hear about the Silver Gala?" her best friend Zoe whispered, eyes bright with excitement. "It's going to be at the Ocean View Country Club this year." Can you imagine? Madison could imagine. She'd spent enough lunch periods listening to the popular crowd discuss their custom gowns and limousine arrangements. The Silver Gala was East Shore's most exclusive event, a charity fundraiser where the wealthy elite of their coastal town mingled with their equally privileged children. Madison Chen. The voice cut through the hallway chatter like a blade. She turned to see Garrett Blackwood striding toward her, his perfectly styled blonde hair gleaming, his designer watch catching the light. Behind him trailed his usual entourage, 3 other boys from families whose names appeared on buildings throughout the city. "I heard a rumor," Garrett announced loudly, ensuring half the hallway could hear. "Someone said you were planning to attend the Silver Gala." Madison's cheeks burned. She hadn't told anyone except Zoe about the invitation her mother had received, a courtesy extended because her mom had just been hired as the new event coordinator for the country club. "What if I am?" Madison lifted her chin, refusing to show weakness. Garrett's laugh was sharp and cruel. "Look, I'm going to make you an offer. A challenge, really." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos of expensive gowns. "You see this? This is the level we're talking about. If you can show up wearing something that actually fits in at the Silver Gala, I'll take you as my date. But we both know that's not going to happen." His friends snickered. One of them muttered, "Charity case doesn't belong at a charity gala." Madison felt the familiar sting of tears threatening, but she blinked them back. "You on," she said quietly. Garrett's eyebrows shot up. He'd expected her to slink away. "Seriously? Madison, that dress would cost more than your mom makes in 3 months. Don't embarrass yourself." 3 months, Madison repeated. "That's plenty of time." That night, Madison sat at her kitchen table, her laptop open, spreadsheets covering every inch of the screen. Her mother was working late again, managing preparations for the very event that had become Madison's obsession. She had $287 in her savings account. A suitable gown for the Silver Gala started at $2,000. But Madison had something Garrett Blackwood had never needed, determination forged by years of fighting for every opportunity. She started applying for every part-time position she could find. Within a week, she was working weekends at a coffee shop, weekday evenings tutoring middle school students in mathematics, and odd hours doing freelance graphic design work she'd taught herself during summer breaks. "You're going to burn out," Zoe warned, watching Madison chug her 3rd energy drink while finishing her calculus homework at midnight. "I'm going to win," Madison corrected. 6 weeks before the gala, Madison had saved $1,100. Not enough. Not nearly enough. She was measuring espresso shots during her Saturday shift when inspiration struck. The coffee shop shared a building with a vintage clothing store. During her break, Madison wandered in. "Can I help you?" The owner, an elderly woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, looked up from her sewing machine. "I'm looking for a formal gown," Madison said hesitantly. "But I only have limited funds." Mrs. Rodriguez studied her with sharp, knowing eyes. "For the Silver Gala?" Madison's surprise must have shown on her face. "Your mother coordinated my daughter's wedding last year," Mrs. Rodriguez explained. "She's a good woman. Worked miracles with a tight budget." She stood, walking toward a back room. "Come with me." What Madison saw took her breath away. Dozens of vintage gowns hung in careful rows, each one a masterpiece from a different era. "These are from estate sales, auctions, private collections," Mrs. Rodriguez explained. "Some need repair. Some need redesigning. But they have good bones." She pulled out a dress from the 1950s, champagne silk with delicate beading. This was worn by a shipping magnate's daughter to her debut. "It's been in storage for 40 years. "How much?" Madison whispered. "For you. For your mother's daughter. $200. But there's a catch." Mrs. Rodriguez smiled. "You help me restore it. I'll teach you tailoring. We'll make it fit you perfectly, make it modern enough for today, but classic enough to outshine anything in that ballroom." The next 8 weeks became a blur. Madison spent every spare moment in Mrs. Rodriguez's back room, learning to take in seams, replace damaged beading, modernize the silhouette. Her fingers bled from needle pricks. Her eyes burned from close work under dim lamps, but slowly, miraculously, the dress transformed. Mrs. Rodriguez taught her about fabric and structure, about how confidence came not from a price tag, but from knowing every stitch of what you wore. They removed the heavy crinoline, streamlined the skirt, and added a modern illusion neckline using delicate lace Mrs. Rodriguez had been saving for decades. "You're not just wearing a dress," Mrs. Rodriguez said during their final fitting. "You're wearing history, artistry, and your own hard work. That's worth more than anything money can buy." The night of the Silver Gala arrived. Madison stood in front of her bedroom mirror, hardly recognizing herself. The champagne silk caught the light like liquid gold. The hand-restored beading created patterns that seemed to dance with every movement. Her mother had tears in her eyes. "You look like a queen," her mother whispered. At the Ocean View Country Club, Madison walked up the marble steps alone. Her heart pounded so hard she thought everyone must hear it. Inside the ballroom, crystal chandeliers scattered rainbow light across couples in their designer finery. She saw Garrett immediately. He stood with a girl in a trendy, expensive gown, probably his backup date. His eyes swept past Madison once, then snapped back, widening in disbelief. The ballroom seemed to quiet as Madison walked forward. She heard whispers. "Who is that? Is that vintage Givenchy? That beading is incredible, it looks handmade." Garrett's date nudged him. "Isn't that the girl you challenged?" Garrett's face had gone pale. He stepped forward, his earlier arrogance crumbling. "Madison. That dress is, if you can show up wearing something that actually fits in." Madison quoted back to him softly, "You'll take me as your date." "Those were your words, Garrett." "I know, but I didn't mean, you didn't mean it," Madison finished. "Because you never thought I could do it. You wanted to humiliate me." Garrett's date looked between them, understanding dawning. "You're that Garrett." She turned to him, disgusted. "You told me she'd backed out." She walked away, her expensive heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. The country club director approached, a distinguished woman in her 60s who served on Madison's mother's board. She'd overheard everything. "Mr. Blackwood, I believe you made a promise. In this club, we honor our commitments." Garrett's father, standing nearby, nodded sharply. The message was clear. "I didn't want it this way," Madison said clearly. "I didn't spend 3 months working myself to exhaustion for a date with someone who thinks people like me don't belong here." She looked around the ballroom, at all the faces watching. "I did it to prove that worth isn't measured in dollars. That determination, creativity, and hard work can create something beautiful, something real." She turned to leave, her mission accomplished. "Wait." The voice came from Mrs. Rodriguez's grandson, Daniel, who Madison had met several times at the vintage shop. He was a college student, dressed sharply in a classic tuxedo. "You came here alone. You shouldn't leave alone. Would you consider staying? Not as anyone's prize or proof of concept, but just because you earned this night." Madison smiled. "I'd like that." As they walked to the dance floor, Madison caught Garrett's eye one last time. He looked smaller somehow. Despite his expensive suit and influential family name, the Silver Gala had taught East Shore Academy an unexpected lesson that night. True elegance couldn't be bought off a rack, or inherited through a trust fund. It was earned through sweat, stitched through dedication, and worn with the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly what they were worth.